All right, welcome back. I hope you're having an awesome time here at RETCON so far. Our next speaker is Isela Rosales. She is the Managing Director of Capital Markets, ESG, and Sustainability at Bridge Investment Group. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and a virtual hello to everyone that is listening in. I'm currently based in the Bay Area, so hopefully everyone that is local as well as afar can appreciate my background. I am a native Californian, so always like to put a plug in for the West Coast. As mentioned in my introduction, my name is Isela Rosales. I am a managing director at Bridge, focusing on ESG and sustainability. Now, my company's been around for a very long time, but I always like to give a little bit of background just to ensure for the folks that are listening in for the first time and may not be as familiar with us. Bridge is a privately held real estate investment management firm. We have about 22 billion in assets under management. We are headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah, with corporate offices in New York City, Atlanta, Orlando, and the San Francisco Bay Area. So I'd like to start off with one of the mantras at my company, and that is that we are a high touch and detail-oriented team where people really are our business. So today, Bridge combines over 4,100 people in a nationwide operating platform with specialized teams of investment professionals focused on multifamily, office, seniors housing, affordable housing, opportunity zones, and debt strategies, which comprise our real estate platform. And just to give you a little bit more depth in the numbers of who we are, today we own over 40,000 multifamily units across the country. In addition, we own and operate 12,500 senior housing units, over 14 million square feet of office space. And we were also a first mover in opportunity zones, which as of the second quarter of this year, 2020, our team has visibility into over 1.5 billion of equity that's been identified for attractive development projects across the US. Now, taking a step back, I really want to focus on the topic of responsibility. We here at Bridge, we invest and we operate responsibly and really believe that a strong corporate and individual citizenship go hand in hand. So what that means is that we believe in responsible investing, which enhances risk and return characteristics, all of this through deliberate and thoughtful integration of ESG. For those that may not be as familiar, ESG represents environmental, social, and corporate governance best practices. So today I actually want to focus on this very important world of ESG and speak to how it's being woven into many areas of our firm's work. And I recognize too that this is also a technology focused conference. So I'm going to be spending some time showcasing how technology and ESG actually can work hand in hand. So just again, because I'm very much a numbers person, in fact, in my spare time, I'm an endurance athlete. So I truly believe that data is important there as much as it is here in our work of real estate and in our work of ESG. So I can tell you that some stats that were shown earlier this summer, there was actually an article in Pensions and Investments that was published, and they put the value of global assets that are implying environmental, social, and governance data in some capacity of their investment decisions and portfolios. And that number has almost doubled in over 4 years and more than tripled in over 8 years. So we're talking about up to 40.5 trillion in 2020. Again, this is a number that represents global assets that are in some capacity applying ES and or G data to their work. So I would say that it's safe to say that with ESD data integration becoming so prevalent in asset managers such as Bridge Investment Group, it's not likely that this growth trajectory is going to go anywhere in any other direction other than up the way we're seeing it now. So with that, I do want to focus on this concept of data management within ESG, given that it is something that's not only important to our work on just the investment underwriting side, it's important to understand how it's important in ESG. So with the world that we live in today, where so much of our work relies on technology, and now with the COVID environment, we very much rely on technology day in and day out. I wanted to showcase at least 2 examples of companies that have been helping us in so many ways with our ESG work. The first company that I'd like to speak about is a company called Measurable. So this technology company is one that was brought to our radar about a year or so ago. We met with them multiple times. In fact, I spearhead the ESG steering committee at Bridge. And in those meetings, we ultimately made the decision to hire Measurable earlier this year. Just for some background before I showcase their amazing technology interface, I wanted to profile them and say that one of the main reasons actually that we picked them is that they are the world's most widely adopted ESG data management solution for commercial real estate. And so what they've been doing for us and many, many companies around the globe is aggregating investment related ESG data. So they can help us with automating utility data collection. They can also look at both building and portfolio performance benchmarking. For those of us that are living and breathing ESG, we know how important it is to look at those benchmarks and understand how our respective companies, our respective portfolios, and ultimately our assets are doing vis-a-vis those benchmarks. And then of course, knowing that we have overall reporting functionalities. So one thing that also I really came to appreciate about Measurable is that they are integrating global physical climate risk data into their platform. So this is yet another area where technology meets the work of not only our firm and as a real estate player, but also taking note of what's happening in the global sense of climate risk. And ultimately, a firm like us can utilize our platform and understand what our exposure is at the portfolio level, and then also again at the asset level, and even in the early stages of the due diligence. And last but not least, we also appreciate that Measurable works with a variety of services to help streamline information. One of those is the well-known Energy Star. So as many industry players will know, this is a very well-respected certification, and one that many investors also looked at to see how much of a given portfolio has Energy Star status. So with that, I would like to spend some time just again profiling on a very high level what the technology of Measurable has offered for us. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and providing more of that background. So here I am showcasing the opening page of actually our live portfolio here at Bridge. We, as I mentioned, are working with Measurable now for a few months. So we're very excited that so many of our assets already are showcasing data, again, much due to the hard work and the amazing technology and interface that Measurable has with being able to retrieve data across our assets and across all the utilities of those assets. So here, just a high level, you can see that they have a very clean and user-friendly interface. Again, I think this is important for all types of technology companies, and they certainly didn't want to fall short of providing it for the real estate segment of the world. And one thing that's also really neat is they maintain a very active blog here. So it's really neat when you come into their interface to be able to see some very relatable topics that we can scroll through and just make sure that we are caught up in our reading of related topics. So I just thought it'd be interesting to take a peek into some of the information that they organize for clients like us, and we can poke around here. As I mentioned, they can do both analytics on the portfolio level, they can drill down into the site level. Of course, always fun to see what portfolio trends might exist. As we begin to further finesse our ESG program, we're going to be setting a lot more targets for ourselves. I highlighted their capabilities on the climate risk side, and then ultimately, what kind of reports can we get out of this type of interface? So just to take a quick peek into just some of our sites, I'm going to let this load up. You can see here that as of now, they are profiling for us and tracking over 200 sites from across our portfolio. Again, we've got a coverage of multiple asset types, including multifamily, office, even some of our senior living communities are being captured here. So it's really neat to be able to come in here, poke around. You can see here where any given asset might be in terms of its scoring, the size of the asset. So it's just a really nice go-to place to find all levels of characteristics. Another area that's also very useful is, of course, the portfolio analytics. So from here, we can just take a quick glance into some of our portfolio trends. So this is activity spanning actually all 200 of our sites that are active. And the default is usually to showcase the current 12 months versus even the prior 12 months. So in our case, we've actually seen across all the assets being tracked over a 24% decrease in electric usage. So that's obviously great from a carbon footprint perspective. And then if we wanted to see which assets are contributing to that, we can of course scroll through the rest of this page and then filter out for any particular asset type. One of the things that I really appreciated about this interface is the ability to go in pretty much real time and take note of my reports and take note of core KPIs that Measurable is capturing for us. So again, this is including a span of energy and water usage. We're currently in the process of also adding waste management data. So it's going to be really neat once that part is added here to then be able to click on a report. In this case, I'm going to go in and again, look at 2 one-year time periods and compare them. I'd like to just take a peek into our residential side of things and look at our multifamily assets in this case. We're going to just run a quick report and see what that looks like. So it does take a few seconds for that to populate, but again, we're talking about a lot of a lot of data here, so it's pretty impressive. So while that is populating, I am going to also point to one last feature that is available for the Measurable interface. So for companies that feel that they may not have existing vendors that are doing a good job of already tracking a lot of their environmental data, they can make use of a feature that Measurable offers called Utility Sync. We at Bridge are actually using that as well, and that is a feature where they have an extensive team that goes in and basically manually populates all of the initial account information. And then thereafter, it gets synced amongst all the rest of the utility data that is being tracked for assets. So just yet another feature that's been really good and useful for us here. So just to quickly bring up the report that can be produced, as you saw, within less than 60 seconds off the website. And in this case, we wanted to showcase the multifamily properties. So we're looking at here, again, this is a summary of what the report contains, spanning from portfolio characteristics. And then we want to look at both our energy performance, usage and spending. And it's always, again, good to know who's doing potentially very well or not as well in a portfolio. And then also water usage, carbon footprint, etc. So here's just a quick look into what that report looks like. This is, in this case, for 41 of our multifamily assets, spanning nearly 15 million square feet footage here. And in this case, this was the period spanning from the last 12 months through, again, pretty much real time of November 2020, and then the prior 1 year before that. So in our case here, we actually saw a 7% reduction in how we happen to be performing in all these various characteristics. But again, we still have a very solid score. And it could also be that some of the assets didn't have all of their data reported through November. And that is actually something that we can also actively check through the website at any given time. And it's something that I would do either on my own or actually with a team member of Measurable. They're very user-friendly when it comes to questions. And as I mentioned here, we happen to be looking at our multifamily assets. So here's just some indication of, in our case, where we've got some great performers and some that could use some work. And again, it could be there could be some data gaps there that we want to look at. Um, and then energy usage, etc. So I also want to spend some time highlighting a second company that has been very useful to us. And they actually help populate some of the information that ultimately ends up in Measurable. And this other company that I think is really leading the charge in terms of being an information technology company in the commercial real estate sector, and that is Aquacore. We've actually been using them for many years. Primarily our commercial office division has been really impressed with their work. They built pretty much from the ground up a portfolio-wide solution. Again, it's very much based on cloud-based platform tracks, analyzing and predicting key building performance factors in real time, and then allowing players like us, asset owners, to unlock what we would consider actionable upgrades, and then ultimately being able to streamline all operations and building management. And of course, when we look to sell, drive some increased property value. So with that, I do want to do another screen share and just take a look into the Aquacore world. So here is just the initial page. So upon logging in, this is just my profile of Aquacore. So as I mentioned, they have been a relationship partner for Bridge for a couple of years, primarily through the commercial office side. And so they have been tracking our utility usage, and then they can feed their data into the overall Measurable platform that I mentioned. So that's another great way that technology companies are working together today to ensure that asset managers like us can get our information in a lot of different ways. So I just want to take a peek at some of their options here with the time that we have remaining. So this here is their dashboard. So in our case, we have several dozen commercial office assets. It's actually broken up by building, and we can poke around and really look into a lot of different characteristics. I'm just going to pop into one right now. This is our Lenox Park asset that we own and happens to be based in Atlanta. And again, within a matter of seconds, we can see this activity. And what's really amazing here, again, due to their amazing technology, is I can look at pretty much any moment in time, and we're talking minutes, hours of data that is being fed into this website. And I can go in and look at any activity. If I do see spikes, I can obviously look further to identify why there might be a spike. It could just be time of day, date of the week, or otherwise there might be some issue that we want to address. The website also generates, upon request, reports where we can get alerts for any irregular activity. So again, just to look a little bit further, of course, it's good to understand if some of our electricity activity is in any way linked to outside temperatures. So it could be a day that's extremely hot. Obviously, we're going to see a bump in electricity due to air conditioning is running at full capacity, or it could be really chilly days, in which case that heater is going to go up. So it's always good to kind of understand where the data is coming from vis-a-vis days and seasonal behavior there. And then again, if we wanted to look at day by day, in this case, this is a trailing week that we're looking at. So we've got days of some pretty heavy usage. And then of course on the weekends it drops off considerably. And I can tell you that Bridge is very much in the practice of reducing energy wherever possible. So we've got a number of initiatives at the company. I can just thinking off the top of my head, we've got Friday night lights, which of course, once people start to go home, can we really bring down usage of electricity and lighting? And then of course, over the weekend, really trying to not run things unless tenants really need to be coming into the office space. So with that, I do want to wrap up, but hopefully leave everyone with some great insight into how technology companies are not only helping real estate firms such as Bridge Investment Group, but also playing a really key role in an important area of our work. And I think it's an area that's also, you really can't go far without hearing the acronym of E, S, and G in some capacity. And while I am relatively new to the space of ESG and within this year, actually, I am deeply passionate and look forward to networking with a number of the participants and fellow speakers who are interested both in the technology aspect of ESG, data management, as well as philosophically what this area is evolving to become. So thank you, everyone, and I really hope that you enjoy the conference.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights with us, Isela. Those were incredible data points. So thank you for sharing.
Of course.
All right. If you're looking for your next session, you can go ahead and check out your agenda to see where you're going next, or take some time to do some virtual one-on-one networking with your peers. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around.